So the best way to knock it out of the park on your next comic penciling session is to warm up a bit before we start. So let's do that.
Being able to draw and assess whether or not what you're drawing is well done is what makes a professional different from a layperson who draws occasionally. If you draw all the time, you eventually perfect your technique, you perfect your inner and illustrative eye to sort of monitor the accuracy of what you're doing to match the idea that you had in the first place.
Just draw a lot. Draw more than you ever have, to the point where it's just uncomfortable and you don't want to draw anymore. And then push yourself to draw even more beyond that. That's how you get better.
If you're not having fun with it, then why are you here? Like, granted, you're not going to have fun every day. There's going to be some days where you don't want to do art. There's going to be some days where you have to find the love in art in order to do it. But for the most part, if you don't love what you do for the most part every day that you're doing it, or you're not thankful for it, then don't do it.
Yeah, same thing with art. It is something that only gets better through repetition, and you have to do it constantly. You have to accumulate that knowledge in your head and keep it in there.
It's like when you drop your eraser, it never goes straight down and it's waiting for you. It like runs off underneath the radiator. It's just sloppiness, but it's all in perspective, done just kind of carefully. I think it's sort of deceptively simple. Fire.
When you do background scenes, do you take photos and draw from them?
As much as I can, if I have the time, yeah. It's just, again, organized slop. Doesn't have to be anything, It's just theory that you're working with, you know.
You're floating above this little world you're creating, and it can, it's a nice way to spend time. Creating the illusion of some place that probably will never be. And when you're doing this, you do sort of dance back and forth because it's sort of free association. And that's what makes it a fun way to spend time. And if you're doing it for money, hey, it's even better.
The point is that you don't have to concern yourself with getting all the best pens and pencils and an awesome desk and a crazy, monitor setup and, computer setup and everything straight out of the gate. I would recommend focusing on understanding and learning the fundamentals, and that will carry you. That will take a long time to learn. You don't need a computer that's real expensive for those things.
We are simply idea people. We're not just painters. Some of us are, but I think for the most part, it's people who want to be, either like comic book artists, or you want to create your own book or illustrated book, or maybe you want to do your own video game.
When I'm planning like what my products are going to be, I really only focus on what I would really want myself. There's a lot of other people that will say, I want this, I want, exclusive prints, and I want whatever, they'll give you all these specific things they want, but I just figure if I focus on the things that I really want with my products and would like to find with my products, there's going to be a market that shares that same desire.
Keep updating your library, go and try and figure out what your influences are. Figure out where your initial inspiration came from when you started doing this when you were younger. Who did you want to be when you were a kid? What did you grow up with? You want to pull all of your ideas for characters and everything from things that you love, and not just exactly what you're doing.
Advice? I have some, but it's mostly just along the lines of draw more than you think you need to.
The way you have a fixed viewpoint and a character advances towards you. The way that you keep the character constant, but you move the camera, as it were, around him. Normally in a comic book, a big picture, we're talking about 2/3 of a page or something. But in a page that's broken up into 9 fragments, even 2 of those put together appears a big picture.
But it seems to me that if you want to be good at anything, if you want to be really good at anything, you have to be kind of a geek. I'm sure that great authors are geeks for literature, and great musicians are geeks for music, and great designers are geeks for fashion, and great painters are geeks for painting. And not just in the arts. If I have to have surgery, I want my doctor to really be into surgery.
I'm still a fanboy. I don't know if I kind of don't want to get past that either, because a lot of the enthusiasm for my job and wanting to stay fresh and stuff comes from me continually being reminded by myself or by, a comic book whenever, one of my own comics when I see it on the stand or something, of how cool it is that I've always wanted to do this and I'm finally getting the chance to do it.
How do you draw comics? Well, think like a storyteller, right? You know what the story is, deliver it to the reader in ways that surprise the reader and make them want to keep reading.
Make sure every page has, you don't want to be flipping in the comic store and see nothing and put it back. Every single page should have something on it that grabs your attention and and within that page there should be a panel that's more important than the others.
Hands and faces are, in my books, some of the most important things when you're drawing comic book characters. So double check, make sure that those hands display the right emotions.
How does it feel, right? Put yourself in the position of the characters. Try to get the emotional reality of every scene and every situation out in the way you construct scenes, the way you deliver them visually.
No matter what kind of character you create or assume, a little of yourself must remain there.
It's not always just a question of taking the still image that looks the best in isolation. You have to actually choose the still image that looks the best within the sequence.
When you're first trying to get into your chosen line of profession or your chosen passion, you're going to be kicking and scraping and clawing to get into the big leagues. But as soon as you get in, that's not the goal. I mean, as soon as you get in, all you've done is earned your spot at the bottom of a brand new mountain.
If I was a plumber or a carpenter or, doing some other kind of work, I think I would still, come home in the evening and draw, just for myself.
And so I had to learn how to draw cars. The only way to learn how to draw things is to have 3-dimensional models. Having photographs is no good. A photograph only tells you something from one angle. You have to be able to turn it in your hand and see the light on it and get the actual shape.
If you look around you, that's how the world is made. It's just these, these contrasts are everywhere.
Storytelling. Clear, readable, dramatic, straightforward, letting the reader know what's going on at a glance.
Well, unlike a movie where it's a succession of moving images that in fact, although they follow each other in time, compositionally speaking, they're not related to one another. On a comic page, you can make them compositionally related to one another. You can make an echo by framing a thing exactly the same as you did something earlier on in a very controlled way, in a very obvious way, in a very deliberate way, that because you can compare the two pictures, you can stop and go back and compare, which you can't do in a movie. These resonances become very, very striking.
The more you do that, I think the more immersive your work becomes. It just feels a little bit more authentic.
I think it's just growing up, It was like I started really young, and I do my best to just pour the whole of me into everything I do.
I encourage a lot of people to do this, is to find a way to take your hobby and how do you make money out of it, how do you turn that into a career. And I think that's probably the way of how you create happiness in your life, in your career.
if you have a passion and know which direction you want to go in life, you're lucky, because most people don't even have that.
I think it comes down to working very hard, to persisting and sticking with it for a long time, and then getting a little bit lucky never really hurt anybody.
I can draw every shingle on that house. I can draw every chain on a chain link fence. But it's like, but why? Why did I do that? You know, I did it first time to see if I could and to see if I liked it. Turns out I can and I don't like it.
Weird-shaped panels, obscure pictures, and dull-looking characters are the kiss of death.
The technique, the electronic techniques currently, I admire very, very much, but you still have to learn to make a picture. You have to learn composition. You have to learn the shading from light to dark to make the picture dramatic. And I admire very much what's being done in the electronic field, but you still have to learn how to make a picture.
Yeah, you have to find that. You have to find that time. I mean, I remember when I was in high school and we were going on field trips. I was in the bus with my pad drawing on the bumpy bus, so the bus is like, you know, swerving and going on the roads. I'm still sketching. I'm doing it, and everyone look at me. What is he drawing now? You know, kind of like that.